Hello, future Rossies and pre-med explorers. This is Milena Garcia, your host for Ross University Checking the Pulse, a pre-med podcast. This is our mini podcast featuring facts and information about our medical program, insights from current students, and tips from practicing physicians. Each week, this broadcast will be broken down in small episodes, focusing on one aspect of our program, also having guests talk about their own experiences as students and as doctors. During the Residency MATCH process, applicants can apply as individuals or as a couple. Applying as a couple allows them to connect their rank order lists so they can match in the same geographic location. My guests today are Dr. Yasmine Bargoti Gosey and Dr. Bobby Gosey, who recently matched as a couple through this process. Welcome back, future Rossies. Thanks for joining us again. Joining us today, we have Dr. Yasmine Bargoti Gosey and Dr. Bobby Gosey. Thank you for joining us. Let's take a moment to have you introduce yourselves.
Hi, guys. We're really excited to be here today.
Yes.
So I'm Yasmine. I'm originally from Aurora, Colorado, where I grew up. I was raised there, and I went to school in Colorado as well at Colorado State University in Fort Collins. And I got my degree in human development and family studies while I was there. And then I took a gap year and taught preschool back in Aurora, and then I went to Ross.
Yeah. Well, my name is Bobby Gosey. I'm originally from Austin, Texas. I went to undergrad at the University of Texas here in Austin with a degree in neurobiology. I actually took a gap year as well. I was almost going to go to PA school instead of med school. I retook my MCAT, I got into Ross, and the rest is history.
You know, I keep hearing more and more about this gap year. Maybe I should do an episode on taking a gap year. So I might call you guys back. And at some point, great, good to hear. At some point, your stories matched.
Yeah. So
tell us about it.
Well, what had happened was it was my third semester, I believe, in your second semester. Mm-hmm. And I think we had been studying in the same area, but he said he noticed me, but I did not notice until we met at the beach in Dominica playing football, and we connected there. And then after a couple of months, we started dating, and really that was like a couple months until the hurricane.
Yeah.
And so it was like 4 or 5 months into our relationship when the hurricane happened. And that basically solidified our relationship. We got engaged just a few months later. And we got married during our third year of medical school. Mm-hmm. And we've been married for almost 2 years now. And we are expecting our first child together. And that's how we ended up together and deciding to couples match. So
congratulations. Since January 2019, we moved to the new campus in Barbados, where we are today. Dr. Yasmine, you talked about match as a couple. Can you tell us a little bit more? How does the couples match process work?
Yeah, so couples match, basically anybody could be in a couples match. It's basically when two people would like to enter the match in the same year, and they are trying to match in the same geographic location. And so the cool thing about the couples match is you don't necessarily have to be a couple. You could be, but you could also be a mom and a daughter. You could be sister and brother. You could be best friends. Anyone can couples match, but only two people can couples match together. And so it's basically just a process of your two rank lists being matched as one. And so when you go into the match process, they're trying to match you together into one place. And so that's how the couples match works.
Yeah.
And Bobby, I understand this process, it's all or nothing. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
So it's all or nothing. It's a similar pathway, but separate from just being a solo individual going into the match. So if you rank your list as we both want to match in Indiana or something, that's going to be prioritized. But say we could rank it where I match Indiana and she doesn't match, then that can happen as well. Mm-hmm. But in our case, we didn't want to be separated. So all our ranks from 1 through 17 were all together or not together, not at all. So we were willing to forego the match in order to stay together because we didn't want to be separated. Mm-hmm. That's an option you can take, or you can decide to split.
And applying to residency in general is a very competitive process anyway. It sounds like you added yet another criterion to that. What is it? What do the residency departments look for when evaluating their candidates? Dr. Yasmine?
I think, I think it's different for every residency, and especially between different specialties might be looking for different things. But I think a big thing that residency programs look at is, does your personality fit our program? And does your personality fit with, the idea of someone they want to be working with for many hours a day? And that could be different between, pediatrics or anesthesia or surgery. They might be looking for a different type of person. But I think your personality really plays into when they're interviewing you. Do they identify with you and do they connect with you? But, basics also matter. The step scores, your letters, your personal statement. And then something that we found that really, I think that residency programs liked about us was our volunteer work. Yeah. And I think that people either have like a lot of research or a lot of volunteer work. And for us, we focused on volunteer work. And I think that's something they brought up almost every time. So really just showing you're dedicated to something like that.
What kind of volunteer work did you do, Dr. Bobby?
Well, we started out as working in the food pantry. And then from there, we also did a little bit of volunteer work with the Children's Leukemia Foundation there in Michigan. And then when the COVID hit, everything really shut down. We saw that there was a need for help, helping those essential frontline workers. So we created Michigan COVID Sitters, which was an organization helping with child setting, pet care, as well as elderly care. And we were able to gather donations to give to the local hospitals for PPE and supplies. So we found passion in volunteer. Other people may find passion in other things, but the biggest thing is finding something you're passionate in and really putting your effort and showing that you're committed to that thing.
You mentioned some of the criteria that the residency departments are looking for with their candidates and matching personality and whatnot. What do you think made you strong candidates for the match or unique?
I think for us, we had, the solid foundation of getting the step scores that got you into the door for some of the interviews. Yeah. But I think the biggest thing for us is, we had average step scores, we had average grades, but we were hard workers. And I think that came out in our letters of recommendation and then also just in our networking. I think the number one thing that we did as a couple was advocating for each other and advocating just for ourselves as far as networking and reaching out to as many doctors around the United States as we could, anyone that we had a connection with, going to any event that we could to make connections like the anesthesia conference, the pediatric conference, and just letting people know who we are and making sure people knew, hey, oh yeah, that's Yasmine, or hey, that's Bobby. They're matching as a couple. And that networking piece I think was huge. Yeah. And then like we said before, I think the volunteer work and showing that we were dedicated to that volunteer work really helped out once they accepted us for an interview and saw that. So it's like the two-step process, getting an interview and then them liking you at the interview.
Yeah.
So.
And the biggest thing with that, the second step is just being yourself. You don't realize how easy it is to be yourself because you know yourself the most, but, being comfortable and maybe even showing a little sign of humor, get a little laugh. I think that easily breaks the ice and it lightens the mood. And then like how Yasmine said earlier, these people are just looking for, are you a candidate that we would like to work with for, hours on end? And I think that's the biggest key going into an interview is just be yourself. And I think the rest will kind of shine through.
What kind of advice or support did you get along the way that you feel helped you through this process?
I think the biggest support that we got, and I think is one of the strongest things about going to Ross, is you have this ginormous Ross alumni network. And they're just all over the United States. And the coolest thing about Rossies and Ross alumni is they're so willing to help you. They really want to help future Rossies. And so simply reaching out to Ross students who are already residents there, or maybe they're even attendings. I think we even had one program that the program director, assistant program director was a Ross student. And those people, they're just so willing to put in a word for you or vouch for you because they know how hard Ross students work. And so I think that was one of the biggest support networks for us. And I think the advice that I would have for any student who goes through what we went through and just going to Ross and doing the match process and couples matching is reaching out to your advocates. And that's the Ross Alumni Network, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So.
And then the second thing we also did was using social media and Facebook. Fortunately, we were blessed when we started the COVID sitters that we were able to get in contact with a group called Physician Moms Group. And this group had over 100,000 physician moms across the United States. And we quickly asked answers, is there any mentors available for anesthesia and pediatrics? I received around 6 mentors for myself, ranging from across the whole United States, not in just one area, but all over. And I think that built, increased the network size, and it also increased the knowledge in going into this process that's very unfamiliar and not really, explained well. So it's nice having someone who's went through the process to say, these are things you should do, you shouldn't do. This is when you should reach out, when you shouldn't reach out. This is what you should include in your resume and you shouldn't include in it. So having that screening kind of helps fine tune, your application as a whole. So we felt that really helped a lot.
Finding a mentor that will guide you through the way, right? And at this point, Ross, we have about 15,000 graduates already practicing all over US and Canada. So you already start with 15,000. And then, as you said, Bobby, you keep looking and you broaden your network pool, right? You're up to over 100,000 right away by choosing the right groups of mentors to belong to. Certainly appreciate you guys taking your time to talk to us here today. Any advice for our future Aussies on how to be successful in medical school, given so much that you've accomplished?
Oh man, it really goes to you should be your own biggest advocate. And there's going to be so many roadblocks along the way, no matter what journey you pick. And it's all a matter of just picking yourself back up, reaching out to your mentors, advocating for yourself and putting in that work. And I think if you do that, you can get through any of the roadblocks. And that's in all parts of life. That's my biggest advice.
And I think one other thing that is not really talked about is celebrate the little successes that you have. Those roadblocks that you got over, take some time to yourself, little me time, celebrate those moments, because that refuels you for your next battle. So I think that's the biggest thing for me.
Yeah.
And you can be sure that we be celebrating right in our little corners here for everything that you have both accomplished. Yasmine and I met before she got into medical school. So I feel like this has come full circle for me. You justify why I do what I do. So congratulations. It's been a pleasure watching you promote through your journey through medical school with us, accomplishing your dream. That's why we're here. Congratulations on matching as a couple. Congratulations on finding each other. Congratulations on the upcoming baby. You guys are so accomplished. We could do an entire podcast on everything that you've accomplished.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
thank you for your time, and we wish you continued success.
Thanks so much.
And for everybody listening, thank you for joining us. We will see you next time.
Thank you for listening to Ross University Checking the Pulse, a pre-med podcast. This is Milena Garcia, your host. This podcast is made for you, so let me know what topics you want us to cover on future episodes. You can send me your comments, feedbacks, and requests to mgarcia@rossu.edu. Definitely follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and our YouTube channel at Ross Med School or on Facebook. If you're listening to this podcast on iTunes, I am working my way to 5 stars, so remember to send me your comments and let me know your ideas. If you're on Spotify, remember to click on the follow button to get our future episodes. All right, see you future Rossies and Pre-Med Explorers next week. This mini podcast is edited and produced by our in-house guru, Chris King.